All right, let's talk about the ups and downs of Pragmata. I thoroughly enjoyed this game, and I think it adds a lot to the industry. Let's start there. That's my key takeaway. It's a unique enough game that I think that it's a good thing to have in the old lexicon as far as just video games. It's very innovative. So let's go ahead and get into the pros. I think the best thing it's a Capcom game, right? So it's good anyway. Capcom just doesn't miss lately. The thing that really makes it stand out is the combat. It takes a number of unique angles at the combat that some big swings that I at first wasn't even comfortable with because it's so different. But as the game goes on, I got more comfortable with it, and by the end, I was really enjoying it. So there are several examples of that, like the fact that the game treats guns as consumables is weird, and I didn't like it at first. You know, I'm used to having my gear, and I only replace my gun when I get a better gun, and then I keep that gun forever. This game, you're throwing away guns left and right because you use them until the ammo's out and you throw them away. I've played a few games like that, but not many, and it's a bold choice, but it ended up working out because it kind of forces you to, instead of just sticking with your favorite gun, it kind of forces you throughout the levels to switch up your guns, and so you're having to use a lot of different guns. So that worked out, but mainly what I'm talking about is the hacking mechanic in the combat. I think there's an argument to be made that using the hacking thing and then like in between the gunplay and everything else that's going on, it kind of messes with the timing. It messes with the pacing of the combat because you're kind of constantly going in and out of hacking. I could see that being a distracting or frustrating to people, and it was for me for a little bit. But after a while, I started to get used to it, and toward the end started to get good at it and actually kind of start to master it. I really enjoyed it. The hacking, it's just, it's like a hacking mini game that you've seen in every game since BioShock, but in this one, it's right in the middle of the combat, and so it's very frantic, and you've got to hit these buttons quickly enough before you have to dodge or you get hit by a bullet or whatever. Like, it's frantic, and that was frustrating at first, and a little bit accessibility. Like, it wasn't as accessible as just something that's just a straight looter shooter or something. But once, if you give it a minute, if you give it an hour or two, you'll start to get used to it, or at least I did. And then I got to the point where I was really enjoying it. Toward the end, like in the last couple of bosses, last couple of areas, I'm pulling up that matrix and I'm doing all the hacking stuff and then like dodging right at the last second, right after doing it. It's very gratifying eventually. It just took some time to get there, but eventually it really did start to feel good, especially toward the back half when I started to get good at it. So that's the main thing that really sets this game apart, is the combat with the hacking. Outside of that, it's a lot like your Stellar Blades or your Black Myth Wukongs or your Neos, where you've got all these different kind of like quasi Souls-likes, because this game has some things about it that are Souls-like-ish, like the checkpoint system mostly, but also some of the way the skills work and stuff. But for the most part, it's a pretty, you've got your skills on cooldown. It's a lot of stuff, and you've got perks that you can add to your, you can customize which ones you want to equip, kind of like in a Hollow Knight or something like that. A lot of stuff I've seen before. But that hacking thing, although I've seen it in a million games and mini games, I've never really seen it right in the middle of combat before. It seems on paper like it could be a disaster, but Capcom has this way of taking stuff that seems like on paper it wouldn't work and then just making it work. Resident Evil Requiem was a great example. Dual protagonists, at the same time, two totally different inventory systems. It sounds like a nightmare, but it works. And now, is this game as good as Requiem? No. Let's go ahead and talk. Well, before we get into the cons, also just real quick, the story, I think, is pretty fantastic. The fact that I started to care at all about these characters makes it better than 80-90% of any story out there. I usually don't care about story, But, there's something, the little girl, you put a kid in a game and make the kid an important part of the game, you're going to get me that way. As someone that has kids of his own, that's a really fast way to my heart. The little girl character is very endearing, very well voiced, very, very charismatic, easy to like. And the main character is a little bit more of a cardboard cutout. He's a little bit more one-dimensional, but he's still a lovable character. He's still a good character. So the writing, the voice acting, all that was good. The graphics, it's a very pretty game. All that looks very good. The basic story about this. Well, I won't get into the details, but the way that unfolds is pretty straightforward. It's a story that I've seen 50 different times in different games, where it's like, oh, the corruption's taking everything over and you got to cleanse it. I've seen that a million times. But what I haven't seen is a good character duo like this in a while, with a grown man and a young girl. That's a fun take, and I liked it. As far as negatives, there are a couple of things about this game, little things that I think could be better. It's quite brief. It's not a huge game. It's more of like the length that you'd be used to in like the PS2 era, where it takes, I think I beat it in like 11, 12 hours. It's not a super long game. That's not a problem for me, but I could see that being a problem for some people. It's not a super long game. It's pretty self-contained. It's not some big open world thing. It's got like dedicated levels, which I like all that stuff. That's not a problem for me, but I could see somebody having a complaint about that. There was one thing that bugged me a little bit, and the bosses were pretty fun, all of them, but none of them were very difficult. I think one of them might have killed me twice. Once you got used to the hacking, the combat, the game ended up becoming pretty easy. You have all these tools and all these different ways to fight the bosses, and it makes it to where you could do it any number of ways. And like the final boss, I just walked over. I didn't even begin to struggle. So I'm not saying it needs to be like Souls-like, Elden Ring, Dark Souls level difficulty. I'm not saying anything like that, but it's easy. Like, I think this is an easy game. I died 10 times, and most of those were just careless mistakes or walking backwards into situations I didn't know what I was doing. So I think the game's a little too easy on standard difficulty for my particular taste. I wouldn't say that's objectively a bad thing, but when I think about where I'm going to rank a game like this, I think I would have enjoyed it more if I had really been forced to get really good at it. The game didn't really force me to do that. It did to a degree. It punishes you for not being any good at the hacking. You got to get good at the hacking. So it's not the worst offender I've ever seen and something like that, but I think it's a little bit on the easy side. And there wasn't a difficulty above standard, I don't think. So that's a potential, ding there. I think that's really it. Honestly, when I think about where I'm going to rank a game like this, the only reason it's not going to rank as high as, some of the other games like this that I've played in the past is that the story didn't really grab me. The characters did, or really just the little girl, I thought was a great character. But outside of that, the characters were whatever. The story's kind of whatever. The hacking combat is something that's very unique and very gratifying, but it's not necessarily something like I'm gonna fiend for. It's not. I wouldn't call it an addictive game. It didn't really hook me, like something like a Resident Evil game or any number of other games with good combat. It's not that it's bad. It's just it's so unique that you have to be in a specific kind of mood for it. So this is not one of those games that I imagine I'll want to go back and play again, because it's just very much its own thing that I feel like I've done now. So it's this game is not going to rank in the top 100 for me, but it's not because anything about it is particularly bad. It's just because there's certain things about it that aren't the only things about it that are really good are the hacking mechanic, and I really liked the little girl character, and that's it. As far as like stuff that's like really above and beyond, like top tier, gold standard. Everything else was good to great, but it wasn't like epic. You know, that top 100 on my ranking is really reserved for like games that really blew me away. I wouldn't say that this blew me away, but it was very good. Definitely worth retail price. A very solid experience, one that's very singular and that I won't soon forget. So I really did enjoy it. All right, last order of business. Pragmata. I kept saying Pragmata, but I guess it's Pragmata because that's what they keep saying. It's been fun. It's been a blast, as a matter of fact. But we are now going to delete you from our console and never play you again. Bye. I appreciate you. See you later.